Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome one more time to one of our BTS talks. I'm Eloi Pardo. I'm the director of the Master in Digital Product Management. And today with me, we have Julio Kauss. Julio, welcome.
Hi, Eloi. How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining today. I can give a quick introduction about the topic for today and who is Julio and why he's joining me today. So basically, Julio is one of our former students. It was 2 editions ago, if I'm not wrong, that he joined our program of product management at the school. And since then, it's been a while, and I know you've been working a lot. I know you transitioned from product to entrepreneur. I know you have already this mindset, but I think you already found a company during this period. You've been focusing on the healthcare industry. You've been facilitating access to medicines to a type of customers in your country, in Peru. So and today we would like to understand how was this process, how you managed to transition from this type of tech roles into business entrepreneurship in general. So yeah, if maybe you can start talking a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, I can start by saying that my family, my mom and my dad, they are entrepreneurs. They start, we have a family business, more in the automotive sector. And every Sunday that I have, it was a business talk. Every Sunday we talk about processes, we talk about people, we talk about different things. So I think that I have the entrepreneurship side in me all of this time. So when I started my journey on Credit Corp, that was the last corporate company that I was before making my startup. I learned a lot. I was 5 years in risk management in a team that makes us all the strategy for SMEs loans. So I was there for 5 years, and the last 2 years I was in Yape, that is the biggest wallet here in Peru. I always I learned a lot in Credit Corp. I'm really thankful for all this journey. But inside of me, I always feel that I have to do something different, right? So that I have to do something for myself, and that's how I was talking with Angelo, who is my best friend of school, and he has this idea to how can we change the health system. We in that moment we didn't know what we were do, but he has some ideas, and that's how we start. And that's how we start the journey, literally knowing nothing, and here we are 2 years later with a lot of friends and people that have joined me in this journey.
I remember you joined the program. Yeah, I think it was around 2 years ago, and we had this first call where you tell me a little bit about this background of yourself and also your family, and that you have this idea of some projects that you just started, right? I think that was more or less the situation at that point. What was this situation for yourself? Like, okay, you decided to do product management at that point, or do our program. What was the reason behind that to move from these corporate companies, creating your own startups, but also at the same time learning more about the tech industry?
Yeah. So if I have to go back 2 years in the 2 or 3 years in the past, and if you ask me what will be my way, I was thinking of doing an MBA in Stanford, or Harvard. Yeah. So basically, my way was I will do an MBA. I will work in a big tech. Yeah. But uh, inside of me, I know that wasn't my purpose. I really want to do something that affects me really personally. So I take 1 week of work, and I start thinking what will be my journey the next 5 years. So in that moment, I know that I have to build something for me. So I think why I should take a big MBA if I can take something on a topic that I really like, that is technology. I have a background in system engineering, so I really want to do something different in technology. And with that study and with what that master in another city like that is different to Lima, that is more a technological hub like Barcelona, maybe I can find myself and my purpose there. So that's how I start thinking on BTS as a house and Barcelona as a house for the next year.
So I guess it's important sometimes to stop, think about your future,
Exactly.
try to at least imagine how it's going to be the career path. Sometimes you plan it in a way, but then it goes in a different way, right? Opportunities come and go, and you cannot plan all of them. What was more or less the decision behind choosing BTS and our program? Why did you choose that one, right?
Okay, I have two ex-colleagues who have been studying BTS. So first, I have to search for the city. So I started looking for different cities, the US, I have Madrid, Barcelona, and different ones. I love the beach, and I love this. I love when a city has different cultures, like Barcelona. In Barcelona, you can hear more English in the streets than in Spanish, and that's crazy.
Sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. So I choose Barcelona for the different kind of cultures there, the weather, and also because it's a really important technological hub. Yeah, and then I start looking for different options as a school, and I find BTS because of the recommendation of my ex-colleagues, and also because I want a school that is more focused on tech, not a business school that has a tech program. I want a school that was more focused on tech. That's why I choose BTS. And the product management, because these all 8 years that I was in Credit Corp, I was in different fields, but it was product. In risk management, I was in the strategy team of risk management. So it was like a product manager, not a digital product manager, but a product manager in the risk field. Then when I was in Yape, the first year I was in complaints, leading the complaints team, and I was changing all the process. So it's like a product manager, but in complaints. And the last year I was in digital product management, building the way that you can pay in e-commerce with Yape. So different fields back the same experience. Yeah, and that's how I know the practical or the practice way to do the things, but I didn't know so much about the theory, and that's how I take the decision to take the master.
Yeah, sometimes this happens, especially in tech companies or tech corporations, where some profiles from our areas maybe start dive on something that they don't know exactly how to explain it, but at the end it's kind of problem, right? It's like, okay, you are supporting how this is going to work on the next step, how this process is going to be managed, how we're going to do those actions, how this operation is going to work. And yeah, that's more or less in a more, let's say, professional or more mature way. You somehow are creating product, right?
Yeah.
And I have one more question, and then we can maybe go into OpenMed. What were the topics that you first were looking for? You mentioned that you want to know more about the theory, to be more known about the product management topics. So which were these topics? And after you complete the program and nowadays, which you believe were the topics that helped you the most into this path?
Yeah, it has to talk about the topics that I was looking for in that moment. First, how can you solve different problems with technology? That is something that I learned when I was a student in the university, but years have passed and everything has changed. So I want to know how the real companies that are nowadays leading the future, how they solve different problems with technology. That was the first topic that I want to learn. The second one was more about how to understand the user experience and how to really understand the pain points or the touch points that people have in the experience with different products. Also, something that I want to learn was the experience of different product managers, like like all the teachers that we have here in BTS. That was something that I really learned. And nowadays, these three topics I put every day in OpenMed. Every day I'm thinking, how can I solve this problem with a new technology that is coming, like AI? And we will talk maybe about that later, but I always, every day I think, how can I solve the problem? Uh, what is the feeling that a patient have when they buy their first medicines with us, and the second and the third and the fourth? So I take all of this theory that I learned on the master, and now I'm using in my daily life.
Super. I love to hear
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Let's go then to OpenMed. What's the core
Okay.
problem that you're trying to solve? What's the purpose? What's the mission behind that?
Okay. Yeah. Now, not only in Latam, I think in every part of the world, if you go to a pharmacy and you ask for a specific medication, I think 3 out of 10 times you will hear a no. I don't have it. Yeah. And if you really ask yourself why is that, it's because the pharmacies are not prepared to serve people that have chronic conditions. The pharmacies that you see in every street, they are prepared to serve the people that have common condition like flu, like a stomach ache, like a headache, or well, as you can see now, more about beauty or different things, right? So that's a main problem that we're trying to solve. That how people that have a chronic condition and they go to 5, 6, or 10 pharmacies to buy their medicine, how can they buy it in just one click? In a way that is very, very easily doing. Because the problem is that they can't find their medicines in different pharmacies. And that's a problem that we're solving now with OpenMed.
So I understand that pharmacies normally have like a limited inventory. They normally have
Mhm.
the products that are more common
Exactly.
behind the population. But for certain type of users or clients, you are not finding those products. Is
Yeah.
chronic disease and chronic patients something very common? It's this is a niche problem, or this is something that we can find like a huge not a
I
business, but a
actually,
problem behind, right?
I have a conversation a lot of times, and I think that when I say chronic condition, people think about the real chronic condition or the bad condition, but it's not exactly that. In chronic conditions for us is the patient that needs medicine every month. And you can have patients, for example, that has diabetes or hypertension, yeah, or also psychiatry condition like depression or anxiety, and they take pills every month, yeah, in that way. And in the other hand, you have patients that have something that is more like that, like cancer, like different kinds of conditions. Yeah, chronic condition has all this group in one, right? So that's what I'm talking about. People that need medicines every month.
You mentioned just before how important was for you to understand the client side, right, or the user side.
Mhm.
How was this process to create this company? You mentioned Angelo, one of your co-founders at the beginning. How was the initial insights for this project? It was something more personal. It was something that you analyzed the market. How this reached
Um,
to you?
yeah, we are now in the third version of OpenMed
Mhm.
because as you know, startups make pivots every time. Yeah, and it's important to make that pivot in the moment that you really think that you have to change things. When I start OpenMed with Angelo, it actually was the second experience of OpenMed because he started the first OpenMed some years ago. Yeah, and in that moment we want to try to make a B2B platform that connect distributors and pharmacies. Yeah, that was our main goal. But we didn't have the network, or we didn't have the contacts there. So we passed 7 months building the app, looking for pharmacies, and sending a lot of emails to different kind of people. And after 7 or 8 months, we decided to change the idea, and we start looking in our own site, like in our own family. What are the problems that our own family has, and how can we solve it? Always in the medical side, on the medical field, in the medicine field. So I start thinking about my grandmother and my grandfather, and also my father and my mother. My grandmother has diabetes and hypertension and different conditions. Yeah, and for them to buy their medicines and to get it is not easy. They have to go to different pharmacies. It's the same problem that I was talking earlier. And for Angelo was the same. He has a experience very complicated with his mom when he has to buy insulin for her, and he has to search, I think, more than 6 or 7 pharmacies in that moment. So very with a lot of we didn't know what we will do in that moment, but we just know that we have to do something about it. So we said, what if we digitalize? And I think we were very like we were dreaming a lot in that moment, and that's okay. And we said, what if we digitalize all the journey? And that was our first thought. What if we digitalize all our journey? So my grandmother and your mother can find their medicines the same day, just with an app, with a WhatsApp, with a tool. The tool is after. First, you have to find a solution for a problem, right? So that was our first thought. And that's how every day we start refining the idea. I took the idea into the master, and that helps a lot because every day we start refining that. We build our first MVP, and with all the data that came with the MVP, we start working more in the problem and in the solution. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that part. I remember you started the program with just a few ideas on how to build this program.
Totally.
And you ended, and just to give some context, in our program, we have a subject called Final Project, where students in groups prepare or create a digital product from scratch. And they present it, and they create the business plan, the designs, mockups, all the product strategy as well. And I remember that by the end of the course, you were working on your own project related to this, and you had clients, and you have like I'm not sure if it was a profitable business, but at least it was a real business, right? Which was I was really happy hearing that. You mentioned that you had different pivots and iterations of OpenMed. What's the situation nowadays? I don't know if you can maybe share some metrics about customers or revenue or transactions to guide us.
Yeah, I can share some. When we start, we have an MVP that it was a very very bad website that says we have all the medicines for different conditions. That was the first message. We didn't have products in the website. It was the website. It was the WhatsApp. And behind the WhatsApp was Angelo and also me sometimes. Yeah, and we have a WhatsApp group with one of our partners of medicine. That is a big chain here in Peru, and was our first partner there. Yeah, so we started. The reply times or the response times that we have in the moment were terrible, like 1 or 2 hours, I think, per question, because we have to go back to the other group of WhatsApp and ask, hey, do you have the medicine? And they said, yeah, wait a minute, and they reply in 1 or 2 hours. So we started that when we have the first order was amazing for us. And when we have the second or the third order was really nice. Now we made 120 orders per day. Yeah, I think we're pretty small too, but we are evolving a lot this year, and we have helped more than 5,000 patients, chronic patients, to get their medicines, and we want to help more and more people. If you can see that TAM or the marketing in the people that have chronic conditions in Peru, more than 5 or 6 million people here, and in Latam is way more. So I think we are pretty far for our objectives, but we have to celebrate the little wins. Yeah, and now we are helping a lot of people every day, and that's something that really makes me happy. And yeah, that's how we are doing now.
I remember when you were creating this MVP, sometimes people get super excited with super disruptive technologies or expensive tools or complete processes with AI behind. But real businesses sometimes work with an Excel spreadsheet, WhatsApp, and dumb website that collects just information or the basic information. And then you can prove it if there is behind interest from potential users, clients, and then is when you start thinking about technology, but not before, right? At least not in many businesses behind. Super interesting.
Yeah.
And let's go with the next steps. What are your expectations with or your objectives with OpenMed? Where do you see yourself in, I don't know, 3-5 years from now?
Okay, that's a interesting question. Yeah, and I've been thinking about that a lot these few months. We want to make a really a big change. We just don't want to be the digital pharmacy and that's it. And a very good example of the things that we want to do here in Peru is a company that we love. And when I say we, is Angelo, me, and Harold, my co-founders. We love this company that is called Hims and Hers, and they are in the US. They are changing a lot of things. They are changing the experience, the patient experience there. And we want to create something that is similar in the way that they are doing things. For example, now in Latam, if you have a condition, you have to first look for understand more about your condition. Not just look for the doctor. The doctor, I think, is the second part. First, you enter to Google and you ask why I have this. You ask ChatGPT. You ask a lot of things before knowing what you have. Then, when you know a little about what you have, you go to a doctor, and you have to wait 3, 4, 5, or maybe a week to have an appointment. After the appointment, the doctor gives you a treatment, and you have to buy the medicines. But you don't know, and that is something very common here in Peru. You don't know if that pills or that medicine you will find in the same hospital or the same clinic that you are having your attention. Right? So you have to go to different pharmacies to find your medication. Yeah. And the next month is the same. You have to book an appointment. You have to search for your medicine. What if we create an experience when you can have all of that in the same day? And that's where we are going. We are creating now different MVPs, because I learned a lot from our own MVP that you have to make things easily in the most easy way to do it, and then you will put the expensive technology, the different tools that are nowadays. But now we're creating different MVPs of that experience, and we will integrate all in a one end-to-end platform that can allow the patients have the best experience that they want, because they already have a problem now. The problem of them is that they have a condition. So why they have to suffer more than with their condition just to treat this? I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, that's the problem that we want to, or that's the experience that we want to give to them.
That's very interesting because, as you mentioned it, patients go through a extended journey, right? Since they start talking about this disease until they have like the correct treatment, and they currently constantly buy their medicines. There's an entire journey, and you're being focused on one part of the journey, which is buying the medicines, which helps a lot. But what you are saying, it's like you want to focus on the entire journey and supporting them. And if I can reduce the timings in any of these periods, the experience or the problems for the patients are going to be kind of solved, or at least you're going to work on them, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we see the patients not as a transactions, and that's something very common in my field. And sorry, is there someone here in the webinar listen to this that is in the field? A lot of people see patients as a transactions, but they are not transactions, they are people. And and we really want to solve their problems that they have every day.
Yeah, they probably this is a misalignment between incentives between companies and also patients, where you sometimes focus more on the amount of transactions and less on the amount of patients, or how those diseases are being managed, right? Solved in some cases. I didn't mention it, but for our audience, do you want to share any questions? We're going to have a Q&A at the end of our conversation. So in 10-15 minutes, if you want to share any questions in the chat, I will try to read them as much as possible, and Julio can try to reply them. I would like also to understand a little bit more how is product management in OpenMed. I know you are the CPO and one of the founders, of course, but how you manage all these interactions with clients and potential customers or patients in general. How do you prototyping? How you create those MVPs that you mentioned? I don't know if you are using any AI prototyping tools nowadays. So yeah, you can give that some tips about how is the day by day of yourself.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Well, I can start with a very funny story that happens to me the last year. The last year, we were trying to understand, or we were searching for how can we grow? How can we grow every day? We were experiment a lot. We were making a lot of things. And something that happens is that when I start doing products here in OpenMed, I came with a lot of frameworks, with a lot of ways to be, with Scrum, with different kind of frameworks. Yeah, I know that frameworks are important, but I think it's important to you to understand when is the right time to put a framework and when it's not the right time to put a framework. So something that I learned in the process is that I have to unlearn all the things that I learned about frameworks to create a solution in that moment. Yeah, because the most important thing is that when I start in my product experience in OpenMed was really focus on the problem. Why people are having this? Why they have to search for different medicines in pharmacies, and how can we solve that? Yeah, so that's a funny story because I came with a lot of theory, with a lot of experience in a corporate experience. But my first day, I have to forget about everything and just put hands on and change the things there, because you don't have a team, you don't have a very big group of people. You're just 5, 4, or 6 people trying to change things. Yeah, so that's how we start in that moment. Now we change that. We make the things very different because now I have two. I have a senior product manager in my team and another product manager in my team, and a group of developers. And every day we're divided in this way. We have like a path that is more about the patient experience and how can we improve the patient experience. For example, creating a new e-commerce of our own website, creating a new conversational platform for them, kind of that, yeah. And the other part is how can we improve the experience of our own operation. That is yeah. So we are creating different tools there, and
So
every
one
day.
kind of sorry, there, Julio. So one kind of a external audience and one internal audience, right? The external
Exactly.
audience will be the patients that using your platform. The other one is like your platform itself, how it works and how you can be more efficient, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And something that we are using now is, and something that has changed the last years, is prototyping. Prototyping last year or the last 2 years was not so easy. You have to ask your UX designer to create the flow with you. Then you have to put that in Maze or in Juiceberry, and you have to talk with different people to try your product before start to coding. Right now, with Lovable, Vercel, and V0, you can create your prototype in one day, in minutes.
And
And with this prototype,
iterations and testing with the user is much more easy nowadays.
exactly, it's way easier. And that's something that we're using now. Actually, in one of our MVPs, we create our prototype with Lovable, and all the design in Lovable, we put it in our own in our production website. Yeah, and it helps us a lot to, yeah.
Super interesting. So my next question was more or less related to this. It was how, yeah, these tech trends are disrupting the way you are creating OpenMed. I guess there are some processes that you created in a way at the beginning, but right now with the current technologies, you are probably thinking on build it in a different ways. So I don't know how AI is disrupting OpenMed or AI and making all the tools and concepts behind that.
Yeah, we try to put AI in our processes this year, and we understand a lot of things in the moment. We understand that you can think in a very cool tool, cool technology to push in your process, but it's more important to think if that tool is the right for is the right solution that will solve the problem that you're facing. Because AI is very nice, and I will say how I will explain later how we're planning to use AI. But I prefer to talk about AI is important, but it's more important to understand if AI will solve your problem. Because AI is not cheap. It's expensive. Processing every
Yeah.
token that you want that you have, and every interaction that you will have with the API of OpenAI, and that is
We normally say that this is kind of driving a Ferrari inside the parking, right? Like you cannot use
exactly
the entire potential of the Ferrari in the parking. So somehow the
exactly.
AI is like, okay, you can use the AI for something super simple, but maybe it's not the best approach for that. Right?
Exactly. Maybe you will you just need a Toyota, right? And not a
Which is
Ferrari.
totally fine.
Exactly, which is really fine. So we understand this. To use AI, because I really like to use AI. I'm a very I always every week I learn something different about AI from the different podcasts and different channels. So we understand to use AI, we have to have the house clean first, and with this, I want to say the data has to be clean, and we understand that we doesn't have that data super clean. We have to have the data clean. Our services, start having a monolith, and now we have different microservices that are connected with our platform. So that's the second part. So all the infrastructure have to be prepared if you want to use AI. Now that we are prepared, we will use AI in two ways. We will improve all our conversational process of buying medicines using a real assistant, because now our all the base of more than 4,000 medicines is clean. So if you ask for ibuprofen or a different medicine to the assistant, it will go directly to our database, and will give you the solution. It will don't make mistakes there. Yeah. So first, to improve all the conversational way. The second is to make a pre-diagnosis of the conditions that people have, and this is something that I've been created with a psychiatrist that we work with. Yeah, and the third part is to improve all our operational process, like giving us the exactly amount of stock that we need for each medicine, comparing prices of different medicines that we sell, and different things that we'll use. So now we can start using these different tools because we have the house clean.
That's super interesting. I will go with the last few questions from at least from my side. You have the two hats in your company, the product hat, I guess, and the one as a founder. I would like to understand how you suggest to prepare in the two sides, right? So how should the PM prepare for the upcoming changes or for the job that we'll have nowadays, right? What are your suggestions more or less behind that for any product manager?
Yeah. I have a list of suggestions that I've been thinking. The first one is don't think too much about the framework. The framework is good. It will help you, but things that doesn't have to be perfect. When you're starting your journey as an entrepreneur, every day the priorities change every day until you reach the product market fit. And in the moment, maybe you can put some objectives and some priorities and different things. But first, you will change every day on priorities, so you have to forget a little about frameworks. The second is you have to learn to say no to a lot of people, because a lot of people will say, "Hey, and what if we try this? And what if we try this, another?" So you have to learn to say no. That is important. And the third one is focus. Once that you find the thing that is really making a change in your company, is making grow, focus on that. because something that happens to us as product managers is that we want to try different things, we want to improve different process, we want to make a lot of things, but focus is more important in this part. Yeah. So basically, that
Yeah,
suggestions.
I love that you get something from my classes. Um, no, definitely totally agree about the points that you shared. I think sometimes I've seen, and this kind of common when you're starting your career, especially in a new field. But you cannot hide behind frameworks or not decide making decisions without having like clear ideas or reasons behind, right?
Yeah,
You probably can use some frameworks for prioritization or for road mapping or for whatever, but at the end it's yourself who needs to make a decision, and it's not just about saying no or yes or saying that you have focus on this or on that. It's like okay,
exactly,
this information, these conversations that I had, this vision I have about my product, this data that I could collect is the one that supports my idea, and that's why we go into this direction, right? It's not like no because of personal reason or because I hate you or because I don't want you to do your features. It's like okay, this is
exactly,
the things and the thoughts I have it about that. This is the strategy I'm setting, and this doesn't fit or this fits into my strategy, so I can do it or I cannot do it. Right?
Yeah, and it's important to, if you're gonna make a roadmap and you're starting your journey as an entrepreneur, don't take your roadmap from 1 year, because maybe your roadmap will change the next month, and that's because you, in that moment when you're starting, you don't know what will work, right? So the roadmap is I think it's important to have a vision where do you want to go, but not exactly every part of a process, because things change every day. And something additional, to some to some PMs that maybe are here in the webinar, is that um, you will have to work Saturdays, Sundays, and this is something very common in entrepreneurs. But you will have to forget about your maybe Monday to Friday schedule, and you will work Saturday, Sundays, a lot of days, but creating something for you and for different people. So it's worth it.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely totally agree on those parts. I go to the other part, to the other hat that you have as an entrepreneur and a founder of a company. What are more or less your recommendations? What are the skills that maybe you can transition easily from product? In fact, this year we have a student that also is from Peru, and he's also entrepreneur. Probably you have a hat already
Ah,
in Lima. So
nice.
what are your more or less your recommendations for product managers or product roles that want to transition into founders or create their own company or maybe participate on something that is being created? And maybe other skills or capabilities that you see that you should maybe put or try to acquire in order to be a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah. The first thing I can say is talk with your users, talk a lot. You have to talk a lot, and the good thing is that when you're a PM, you talk a lot with your users, so you can use the same for your company. Talk a lot with them, make a lot of research, make a lot of interviews, and that's the first one. That's the second one is experiment fast. Make mistakes every day. You have to make mistakes. I think it's good to make mistakes, because then you can learn what is working and what is not. If you want to put Google Ads campaign with $5, do it. Just don't think about it. That's something that really can help you. Uh, Something that helps me in all this way is learning about fundraising. Fundraising depends on the solution that you are working it. Fundraising can be good. Yeah, so it's important to you as a program manager. I think that we have a little fundraising topic on the master. So that helps. That helps because that show us the VCs and the founders and how can we value a company. That's something that you will have to manage if you're a founder. So learn about fundraising. And well, I can say a lot of things that are related, but the other is one of the last is just always that data. Data is really, really important. Data will guide you through the way that you are building your company.
I was trying to connect some of the points that you just shared with the ones that you were sharing before about the career of product.
Mhm.
And something that I strongly believe is sometimes that you need to understand the type of product that you are building, right? Or the situation of
Yeah.
your product. How mature is your product? I can understand that maybe Salesforce can plan, extend roadmap for the next year, and they somehow
Mhm.
going to be managing that this is the time is and this is what you'll be creating, right?
Exactly.
But for startups, definitely, or new creation, or even scale ups, planning on the long term, it's kind of useless sometimes, right? I even have discussions in also in my company. Okay, I don't know what I'm going to be doing in May, June. I can put something there, but probably I'm not going to do it. It's much more important to
Mhm.
start thinking about the vision or the strategy long term. But the strategy is not the roadmap. It's not the small boxes about the projects. It's about, okay,
Uh-huh.
how you see yourself in a year, in 2, in 3 years. That's perfectly fine. So that's
Yeah.
the direction that we want to go. So the direction is much more important than say, okay, I'm going to be building this or building that, because this probably what's going to change a lot, right?
Exactly. I think direction and execution. Execution it sounds really cliche, but execution is everything. Every day you have to do different things, and you have to measure that and understand what is the impact of the thing that you are doing. I think that's
So
the most important things.
yeah, so again, understanding the situation of your product, which is in this case, it's very immature. It forces
Mhm.
you to have like a short development cycle where you should execute as much thing as possible. Going again to the other topic, which is like, okay, I don't care about the technology that you're using behind in most cases, right? It's like I
Mhm.
prefer to build this, even if it's with human agents behind, and then we can explore using AI agents or something much complex, right? But first, you need to build
Exactly.
it. You need to find your market fit, then you can do something
Yeah.
else.
That happens to us. That this last year, I was thinking in putting a very cool tool that will integrate our processes, and that maybe take like 2 or 3 months to develop. And then I start thinking, what if I put a person here and solve the problem? And literally solve the problem. And now we are creating the tool that we solve the problem that we have in the moment.
Yeah, I think this is a conversation I just had this week. Where we're discussing, where we're thinking about the project that adds like a new process, but also automates this process. And I was arguing with this because, okay, I would prefer maybe to start just creating the process, even with the human process behind, and then we automate the process. Right? But I would like to
Yeah.
separate both. I think each topics have a different purpose. And considering this, like maybe you prefer to go into one direction, maybe you prove it that this doesn't make sense, this process at all. So you don't need to automate something that doesn't
Mhm.
make sense at all, right? At some point.
Exactly, totally. And now there's a lot of hype, a lot of pressure, a lot of things, but focus on the things that really matter. And that's it.
Believe me. Yeah, thanks so much, Julio. Let's go with the questions that
Yeah.
Natalia just shared with me. This is a question from one of our current students from the program from May. She was asking me what was the biggest takeaway that you get from BTS and from the master that you are nowadays applying it. You mentioned a couple of things, but maybe you can share some. Okay, I get this from that subject. Or I get that from this other one.
Okay. Yeah, I have some people in mind. I don't know if he's here, but something that I really learned from Alejandro, it was that focus on the problem. Focus, really focus on the problem, not in the solution. Because I was thinking a lot in, I have to build an app, or a common mistake that happens is that people think first in the solution and after in the problem. Yeah, but and for example, they think, okay, I will make an app, but they didn't know how the app will solve the problem, right? So that's the first thing I learned from Alejandro. So that was something very important. Um, Another thing is not in all the teachers. Something that I really can take was that all the teachers were just were real professionals in their field, like Anna, like Alejandro, like you, Eloy, like different teachers. You have your own experience in the field, and that's something very important because sometimes you can find someone that is very theoretical, but and it didn't make nothing in the practice, right? So that's something important too. And something that I can get for BTS is that when I have an idea, something that happens to me is, imagine this, every day I have different classes of different topics. Yeah. And in the same way, in the afternoon, I have different challenges in OpenMed. So something that happens to me a lot, it was that I was in the class looking, for example, I was thinking more in this design. I forget the word, but I was in a class where we were looking for problem solution,
Yeah,
prototyping,
design sprints,
design
yeah,
thinking.
design
Yeah,
thinking.
we're in the class as design thinking, and in that moment I said, okay, we have to change this. And in the afternoon, I told Angelo, hey, we have to change it right now. Yeah, so every day was like that. And it was crazy. It was crazy. So that's the biggest takeaway that I take with for BTS.
You were lucky that you have some time difference behind before Angelo wakes up, I guess.
Exactly. My 4 p.m. was his 9 a.m. every day. Yeah.
This whole question is very good, which might be hard to answer, but let's say what came to your mind. What product building lesson took you the longest to learn, but at the same time, today it helps you a lot for key decisions. Something that takes you some time to learn it. It was maybe complex, you don't see the application, but then nowadays it's very important for you.
I would say focus. Focus is the biggest thing and I make mistakes now. I make a lot of mistakes. And if Harold is here, I'm sorry, man. I made a lot of mistakes in that way. But focus is the most important thing that I learned. You see, when you're building your career as a product manager, you will see different, or you will see a lot of different opinions. Yeah, and you will see an ecosystem in Silicon Valley, an ecosystem in Barcelona, different ecosystems, and different kind of founders, right? So you will try to go to the left, to the right, to the center, to different ways. But it's important to you to understand where you are, why your company is growing, why your company is making things good, and focus on that in the part. Forget about all the bullshit that is near you. Yeah.
Super. I have one more question, and I think we can leave it today. How do you see the ecosystem in Lima, in Peru in general, and also maybe in the healthcare environment? Doesn't need to be in Peru, but in general, how do you see the industry, and how do you see your country and your region on the tech industry in general?
I see the ecosystem in Lima is very, how to say, is still very young. It's still a very new ecosystem of startups. Barcelona is years in the future than the ecosystem here, and that's something that I want to change, because I saw that our neighbor Colombia, and they have a very big ecosystem now in Latam and Mexico too, and Brazil, of course. And we have the same capabilities. We can do the same things, right? But the ecosystem is really small here, and I really suffered for that when I started and when I was on my journey. So that's something that I really want to change here. For example, a product tank, that is something that I love in Barcelona. I really like to host a product tank here and to make different things here, and to make more people to not only to create companies, more to think what they want to do, and product management is the right career for them. Yeah. So that's how I see the ecosystem here. In general, in Silicon Valley, they are doing a lot of things that are very exciting. I think I want to work there maybe for some weeks in maybe next year, because I think that if you go there for a month or for some weeks and you really understand how people are doing things, you will go back as a different person, or at least as a different mindset.
It
Yeah,
works as an accelerator or facilitator for different things. Okay.
exactly, and that's something similar that happens to me when I left Peru and went to Barcelona. The person that came back from Barcelona was totally different than the person that came in. Right? So that's how I see ecosystem here.
Julio, thank you so much for joining us today. It was super interesting to
Yeah.
hear a little bit about yourself, about OpenMed, about your career there. Thank you so much for sharing so many things.
No, thank you. Thank you. And thank you, VTF, for the invitation. And it's nice to keep in touch. And okay, and thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, definitely. I owe you a call with a beer someday. And
Yeah,
let's do
yeah,
that.
let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Thank you
Came
so
to
much.
Lima.
Oh, yeah, I should.
Yeah.
Thank you so much all for joining. Thank you so much for BTS for organizing this talk. Super interesting to keep in touch with Julio, and hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much. Have a nice week.
Bye-bye.